Before resigning and handing power over to military rule, Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak addressed the nation. What intrigued me the most about Mubarak's speech was the discrepancy between his biological age of about 82 and his high-gloss Gothic plumage at about age 30. It's the same disconnect that's produced when Grandma sports a lip ring and fishnet stockings under her faded vintage skirt. Polyester skirt. That hair that Mr. Mubarak has is not convincing anyone. It's not fooling anyone. Unless they're wearing bifocals upside down. At what point did he get brave enough to include hair dye on his shopping list and still think that people will take him as seriously as before the pigment enhancement days? At what point, at what age was it a deficit and no longer appropriate to exhibit greyness? When did he decide, I must do something about this grey? It is undercutting credibility and ability to rule my peeps. Time to upgrade my image. Create a wider appeal. If I can get the young to relate to my hair, yes, I will win them over. Can you imagine being his designated shopper? Let's see, lined paper, fountain pen, ink, Banana Republic shirt, suit, tie and kerchief, hair dye coupons? What, is he ridiculous? Is he serious? Oh, he's lost it. Can you maintain the same level of respect for the figurehead of a nation after dropping 6 boxes of his henna into your shopping basket? Can you? That's got to mess with your head a bit. Oh, I thought he was serious about running the country. Is this what it's come to, really? No wonder there was no mention of old people in Mubarak's speech. Only the young people's voices reached the virile 82-year-old with hair of a youth. Note that Vice President Suleiman addressed the citizens of the country, not just youth. Why? Because Vice President Suleiman is bald on top and has hair on the sides, which equips him to represent both the aged and the youth. You know, it's only humans that are preoccupied with painting themselves. Animals groom, but they don't colour or discolour themselves. They don't brood over shapes, shades and pigments. You don't see a zebra walking up alongside a hippo at the watering hole and then the hippo getting all self-conscious about its wide hips. Oh, I'm a bit wide in the hips, and I don't have stripes either. But, you think you're all that, Zeepy? Be careful you don't slip and fall in. How long can you hold your breath underwater? Oh, I remember, that's right, I forgot. You can't swim underwater. Oh, by the way, next time I'm down there, if I remember, I'll bring you back some plankton to supplement your bland, meagre diet of, what is it you eat? Yeah, grass, right. By the way, I hear that in Mexico, mules and donkeys are painted with stripes to look like you in petting zoos. Is that true? Oh, by the way, Zeeb, I've got to go. I've got to do some underwater snorkeling without a snorkel. Enjoy staring at your reflection. It's all vanity for you, isn't it? It's utility for me, though. No, they can't afford to think like that, because the moment they do, they're wearing a frickin' crocodile necklace. Oh, how about when a brightly plumed bird swoops down and perches itself next to the familiar sparrow? Does it make fashion recommendations? Oh, sparrow, you really ought to see my colourist. You're looking kind of plain there.
Oh, yes. I've been looking into a more interesting hue. I was thinking of a splash of magenta on the tip of my beak and a hint of fuchsia in my right tail feather, perhaps.
Let me tell you something, men. If your woman says you look more virile or sexy with dyed hair, she's shopping around for a man. Oh, and it's not you. And you might as well be shopping around for a man too, because that's not what women want to see. And don't let the magazine at the hairdressers tell you otherwise. Once you've committed to that hair dye, by the way, there's that coming out party where you don't know which way it's going to go, do you? But chances are it's going to go all, well, thumbs up in your favour. And I'll tell you why. Because people love a good laugh, especially when it's not at their expense. No matter what people really think, they have to put on a show for you of approval. You've got to let people do their thing. It's the only decent way to live. You allow people their dignity, even if it means they've decided to reverse the biological clock of their scalp by 20 years overnight, while the rest of the body remains in the present. And you can expect people to compliment you too. Sure, they're snickering, but not in front of you, behind your back. And the more extravagant the contrast between your body parts, the heartier the giggles. But all you'll see and hear are nods of approval and comments affirming how radiant, how fetching you look. Eventually, the confirmation from public consensus gets under your skin, sells you on your new look, and you're convinced solid that you're smoking hot. And you might as well be smoking something because you've now totally lost touch with reality. And to prove it, it wouldn't matter at this point in the least if someone walked up to you, snickered, laughed in your face, pointing directly at your hair. You'd react like they were jealous. You'd give them a smug look and brush them off with, "Damn, you're so envious. Get over it." Maybe look into sharpening up your image instead of being a hater just because you don't got what I got. That is when your hair starts getting embarrassed, all choked up in that dye, can't breathe anymore, thinking, "Oh, I was just doing what I was meant to, but I'm just hair. I guess my best wasn't good enough. Now every time I grow out a bit and it looks like my owner has lifted the ban restricting natural hair pigment, I get doused again with that cancerous chemical dye. I wish I would die." Yep. Your hair feels smothered, rejected. It doesn't feel like itself anymore. Affirmations don't help it. It starts to thin out, wither, and it wouldn't mind if its follicle dried up, abandoning its scorched dandruff dwelling. But it can't even commit suicide. It's just hair. It's not even capable of raising a peaceful protest like the people of Egypt. It's been muffled. Its will has been broken, shattered. It can't demand grey rights. There's no democracy for it. It's oppressed under the government of its autocratic persecutor, Mubarak. Well, in this case, whoever's dyeing it. Eventually, the sweetness of life having faded, it loses all joy and hope and dies of shame, humiliation and loneliness. And did I mention embarrassment? That too. Then you, its mourning owner, are going to be shopping around for a cozy scalp casket from toupee catalogues to cover up that abandoned dome of skin you're left with. And at that point, you're only one step away from a Groucho Marx clown mask with plastic spectacles, nose, moustache and a cigar. But at least you know the kids will relate to that. Sure, the reason Mubarak delayed in personally addressing the nation after the riots broke out was because he was firing his cabinet instead of himself, amending articles of the Constitution by committee, writing his speech, waiting for his new tailored suit, preparing for his vacation, but mainly, and you won't hear this in news reports or from news analysts, but recall that he had assured the youth of the nation that he was not embarrassed to listen to them, he would listen and he would respond. And he was busy harnessing the incredible power of time travel by getting a touch-up on his jet black tint.